Welcome to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. Today we have with us Deven Hurt. Deven, glad you could join us today.
Thank you. No, thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Thank you, sir. So you might notice that the wolf is missing. And before we get to talking with Deven, just like to make a quick announcement. We've alluded to it on the show that, his girlfriend became his fiance. And, well, guess what? Over the weekend, his fiance became his wife. So congratulations to the wolf. They are on their honeymoon. Honestly, he didn't even tell me where they were going on their honeymoon. So that's typical wolf, right? So, congratulations on their wedding. They are on their honeymoon. So, of course, he left the shop to me to take care of everything podcast-wise. And, of course, I'm used to that by now. But with all that being said, Deven, let's talk a little bit before we get into Prediction Strike, which to me is absolutely fascinating. And we're going to get into the weeds on Prediction Strike because this is a fascinating idea. But let's talk a little bit about your background. So can you tell everybody kind of, where you came from and all that good stuff in your background?
Sure. First of all, congrats to the wolf. Congrats on the wedding. I hope the honeymoon's fun. Now, as for me, so I'm from Long Island. I grew up there, spent most of my life there. After that, I went to college. I went to Harvard up in Boston. Was there for 4 years. From there, went to Portland to work for Nike. Did that for about 2 years. Then went back home to really launch Prediction Strike and just take that to the next level.
Okay, all right. Let's stop there. You went to Harvard, right? I mean, not a lot of people get to say they went to Harvard. What took you into Harvard? I mean, what made you say I got to go to Harvard and walk us through that? Just the short version of getting into Harvard.
Yeah, I mean, look, of course, it's a ton of hard work, a ton to get there, and then once you're there, but just the opportunities are unparalleled. It's kind of hard to say no. So as you can see, I didn't, and I really wouldn't trade it for anything. Outstanding experience, phenomenal people, just great place to be.
Yeah, but do you ever feel like, I mean, today everybody knows Harvard, right? It's always, the university to go to. It's like, oh, well, this guy's from Harvard. Oh, he must know what he's talking about. I mean, yeah, people know Stanford, they know Yale and everything, but like Harvard is, you used to say Cadillac, but I think now you say Rolls Royce or the Bentley of universities, right? I mean, just to be able to say, well, I went to Harvard. It's almost like you go up one notch in being able to talk about what you're talking about, just to be able to say you went to Harvard.
I think in some ways that's true. I think the perception is definitely there. And that's really the school's job. They do a great job of bringing in a lot of smart people and also making sure that you are smarter when you leave and that reputation holds. So let's hope I can live up to it.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. So, not to dig too much into the background, but bioengineering. I mean, you went to Harvard for bioengineering. So, I mean, you're now the CEO of a company that has absolutely nothing to do with bioengineering. So what was that initial thought, back when you're 18, 19 or whatever, going into college? What was it that you were looking at actually trying to do?
Yes. So kind of as you alluded, I was looking at doing not at all what I'm doing now. I was looking at going to med school. So hence bioengineering. I decided not to go to med school towards the end of sophomore year. And at that point, I was mostly done with my requirements. So it was kind of like, let me get this bioengineering degree and use kind of the extra courses I have to start to see what I want to do and kind of figure out what's next.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. I remember I went to the University of North Texas, not UT, the University of North Texas. And we have jokes here in Texas, UNT is the University of nearly Texas. And then we have a college, UTA, University of Texas at Arlington. And we joke about that, calling it the University of Texas almost. things like that, right? But I remember going to UNT and I wanted to be a lawyer. And so when I went to orientation at UNT, they said, okay, all the pre-law people, you go into this room. And so you were signing up for majors. And literally they told me in that room, well, we don't have a pre-law major. So you have to take political science. So I signed up for political science and I was too lazy to ever change my major. So I actually graduated with a political science degree. So, yeah, so that's, and then of course I didn't go to law school because kind of like you, about 2 years in, I'm like, I'm not a big fan of school. I want to go do something else. So totally get that. So, so now let's dig into Prediction Strike. So, give everybody kind of a 30,000 foot view of what Prediction Strike is.
The simplest way to explain it is the stock market for sports. So imagine you can buy and sell shares of your favorite pro athletes as if they were stocks. Now those share prices are going to move based on how the athletes perform in games, as well as our other users buying or selling shares of those athletes. So we try to simplify the real stock market in a way that you could get if you were anyone from a super casual sports fan to like the numbers analytics junkie who can rattle off like every stat line from the 74 Super Bowl.
Gotcha. So where'd you come up with the idea?
Brad, my co-founder and best friend, came up with it really just in a conversation. So Brad and I were talking, and we were talking about the real stock market, about just life. It was May of that year, so NBA playoff season. And Brad had lost a little bit of money in the stock market, and he's like, I just wish I could put my money in LeBron. And it was like, well, what if you could? What if we built something that maybe you could? We built it, and it's just been taken off.
Yeah, totally understanding that. And of course, in that conversation, right, you're talking about investing, and your buddy Brad, right, loses some money. And investing for most people, right, is a little bit on the difficult side, right? They rely on a stockbroker. They rely on some kind of a financial advisor, something like that. But now with the advent of the internet and things like that, people can actually kind of look and say, hey, I can do this on my own. Is this a vehicle per se that they could go outside of traditional methods of investing and invest their money in this?
I mean, that's exactly the idea, right? If the stock market is incredibly complex, it's at times unrelatable. People don't know how it works, but I think a lot of people understand how football works, how basketball works. I don't know, whatever your favorite sport is. And that's more natural to them. And so that's what we want. We want to give you the approachable investment for you.
Right. So let's use LeBron James. You're the one that brought him up, not me. Right. So I want to invest in LeBron James. So walk me through how that works and how I'm going to make money, hopefully, right? Make money. That's the whole point behind it. So walk me through how exactly that works.
So you will deposit money. You sign up for Prediction Strike, of course, most importantly. You deposit money into your Prediction Strike account. That shows up like an account balance. And then now you can buy those shares. So say LeBron is $10 a share. You deposit $100. You buy your 10 shares of LeBron. Now you have your shares. And then LeBron's going to have a game coming up. Say it's tonight. He's going to have a projection for that game, and it's going to be in fantasy points. So say his projection is like, 40 fantasy points, and he gets 50 tonight. His stock price is going to go up. If he gets, say, 30, the stock price is going to go down. And then you can make money like that. And there's also just, are other people buying or selling? I mean, it's LeBron. So a lot of people, are going to buy those shares and keep pumping that price up. So, or maybe it's a new rookie you purchase shares in that everyone's going to buy shares of, or maybe it's someone who's just now starting. That might be how you make money.
So it arguably then, like you talk about LeBron, right? A name that even if you don't follow basketball, you know that name, but maybe you don't know this rookie. So basically, like you said, $10 a share for LeBron. And of course, these aren't the real prices on PredictionStrike. We're throwing easy math numbers out there, right? So $10 a share for LeBron, you throw $100 at that, you get 10 shares. But you might have, I don't know, Tristan Abbott, a rookie in the NBA that you can buy for 50 cents a share. You could throw that $100 at them, and then now all of a sudden you've got 200 shares of them. So you own a little bit more of that player, so to speak. So when those fantasy points go up or down, you have more risk but more reward, right? And is that kind of the premise behind this?
Yes, I mean that's exactly it, right? Like build your portfolio the way you want, just like the real stock market. You know, if you want to buy that penny stock that might go to zero, do it. Or if you want to ride that wave and buy what is the NBA Amazon, it probably is LeBron. And the NFL one's probably Tom Brady, right? You can do that. So play exactly how you want to.
So in looking at a player like LeBron, and this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd apparently is sponsored by LeBron James because we keep just repeating his name. So LeBron, send us a check. But are there unlimited shares of the player? I mean, if I'm a brand new PredictionStrike member and my favorite player is LeBron, I can still go in and buy shares of this player. How does that work in your system when you bring on new people to your system and they have that favorite player? You know, is it unlimited shares, and how does that part work?
For now it is, but just for now. We're onboarding a lot of users right now, so we want to make sure everyone can get their shares in this first big wave and this big push that's coming. But eventually there will be a finite number of shares, and then users will just be trading with each other.
Oh, okay. So how is that going to work?
So it'll be like you have your share of LeBron at $13. You want to sell it, I want to buy it. We get matched up. Everyone kind of walks away happy.
Oh, I got you. Okay, but eventually then each player is going to have that finite number of shares, exactly. Right? Okay, and so that's really what would drive the price of the shares.
It'll be everything. It'll be games, how many, and the game performance, as well as do other users want to buy or sell.
So walk me through how once you get to that point where it's kind of closed off, right? And so each player has that finite number of shares, then how is that game performance going to move the quote unquote stock price, so to speak, of the player?
So the game performance will still be reflected in the market rate. So say LeBron has a great game, maybe his market rate goes from that $10 to $12. So now you'll be looking to sell to people at $12, say, or maybe at $13, or maybe the opposite happens. He doesn't have the best game. Now you're looking to sell to people at $9.50, at $9.
Gotcha. So what happens, and now it just feels like we're beating LeBron up right now, but that's fine because we'll switch to football, which I know more about, because literally I would venture to say there's one NBA player that I know, and it's LeBron James. So I'm glad at least you said his name. But what happens when LeBron gets injured?
It kind of depends on when and what the market wants to do. So say he gets injured in the middle of a game. He's probably, say it's like literally the middle of the game, halftime. He doesn't play the second half. He's probably going to miss his projection. His share price is probably going to fall. But let's say he gets injured after beating his share price. His stock price might go up. I don't know. He gets injured the very last play of the game. Or maybe gets injured in practice. Now, if he gets injured in practice, it kind of depends on what the market wants. Other people might see this as a buy low opportunity. They might come in and buy, and that'll send the share price up. Other people might say, I don't know. He's getting a little old. Every one of these injuries hurts. and people start selling. Now that'll send the share price down.
Right. So now let's use a fake person, right? Let's say Deven Hurt gets signed to the NBA. Now he's a rookie, and there's not much money in Deven Hurt, right? Maybe he's riding the bench. Maybe he plays like a minute and a half a game. Could Could Deven Hurt go in and buy all his shares and kind of control his own destiny?
No, definitely not all of them. We have limits on that, kind of for that reason. We don't want people to manipulate the market. It's either, you could have someone who comes in and just says, I really like this random player. Let me make it seem like their stock price is $100 a share now. Or it might be there's always someone who knows someone. Like everyone has an uncle or a cousin somehow who works at a team. And now, but the reason that matters is they might know, oh, so-and-so's not playing today. So-and-so said they were feeling sick this morning. And then they can really manipulate the market. So we don't want that at all.
Right. Almost like, what was that? The 1919 White Sox, right? When they rigged the World Series and the 8 men out and all that good stuff. So you have something in place to keep the manipulation, the illegal manipulation, even though maybe illegal is a strong word, but that manipulation of the market, you have something in place for that.
Yes, exactly.
Gotcha. So what about investing in the players with crypto? Have y'all looked at crypto at all?
We've looked at it. We haven't made movements in the space, mostly just because of time. We're a small team. We are constantly pushing to release new sports. We're launching UFC in a week and a half to get new features out, new app updates. So it's on the way.
Gotcha.
You can't ignore what crypto has done lately. That would be silly of us as a business. So it's on the way.
Gotcha. So maybe we need to back up a little bit. So how long has PredictionStrike been available?
Well, funny you should ask. So we started about 3 years ago, and we started with just our friends. So it wasn't publicly available at all. It didn't become publicly available until about 2 years ago. And then we did a beta. And then we had a big relaunch last year and a bigger relaunch this fall for NBA season. That seems to be the time we release our new apps and our new updates. So, or for NFL season, this year. That seems to be the time we release our new apps and new updates.
Gotcha. Spoiler alert, Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook just for one college. I mean, can you see you being that next guy that, you started off, like you said, for your buddies? I'm guessing years ago, right, you did fantasy football or fantasy basketball or something like that, which is what kind of was the catalyst behind this. And then you said, well, I got my buddies and let's figure out a better way to do this. And now you're spinning that out, right? Can you kind of walk us through maybe what was that kind of that catalyst? And then you, like you say, you have the beta and now here it comes to the public.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what you're pretty close to what was going on there. I've been in fantasy football and fantasy basketball leagues for years. The guy I was talking to, Brad, when we kind of had the idea, he's in a fantasy football and basketball league with me. So we spent a lot of time just talking about fantasy, talking about sports. And it was kind of like, I also was in a unique position and still kind of am, where I have the worst luck in fantasy. My starters always get injured, always, every year without fail, no matter what I do, which means I'm kind of by a certain point in the fantasy season, it's like, I don't have a chance anymore. So now it's kind of a big thing with PredictionStrike as well. What is something that I could do, right? How can I still engage with the sport that I love and still care about it, knowing my fantasy team is never going to win because my top 3 picks are hurt? And so that's been a big thing about PredictionStrike. There's always something. Even if you buy shares of that guy, he gets hurt. Well, sell those shares and go buy shares of the next guy. And that's been a huge part of it. And that's been a lot of fun for the users.
Yeah. I remember the first time I got involved with fantasy sports. I don't remember the year. And you're a younger guy than I am, so you might not remember this. But I believe he was the quarterback for the Jets, guy by the name of Chad Pennington.
Yes.
And he was injured before the season started. I got a phone call from a buddy of mine ran Toulouse, and he said, "Hey, do you want to play fantasy football? It's $100 to get in. It's a winner take all league, except for highest points in the league gets their money back." I'm like, "Yeah, I'll throw $100 at this, whatever." So we had a live draft over at a buddy of mine's house.
Nice.
And he said, "You need to go buy a fantasy football magazine that will rank all the players and everything, so you know who to draft and everything." Well, in this second round, I took Chad Pennington, and everybody just laughed at me, and they're like, "Oh, obviously you weren't paying attention. He's injured and blah, blah, blah."
Here's the book. Like, read the book.
Right. And so I made this giant mistake, right?
Right.
Guess what?
You won the league.
I won the league that year, just literally looking at numbers, because I made a bad choice on Chad Pennington, but all I did, it's like, what was that? Jonah Hill in the Moneyball, Jonah Hill and Brad Pitt. I mean, I literally just looked at all the numbers, and that's how I picked all the players. And wow. I ran it through there, and no kidding, the guy that ran the league, when he handed me the $1,100, because there was 12 people in the league, it hurt his feelings so bad, because these are guys that eat, sleep, and breathe ESPN. They knew everything about everyone, and I looked at it as numbers on a spreadsheet. And after that, I just basically kind of bowed out of fantasy football. It's like, if you walk up to a golf course and on the first hole you hit a hole in one, you just pack up your bag and you go, because it's downhill from there, right?
100%. Yeah, you gotta go. Wow,
yeah,
go out on top. I love it.
Yeah, I love that, but I also like the fascination that there are things that people can invest in now that are not directly connected to, say, a business or some kind of stock market. Of course, there's manipulation in stock market. There's manipulation in crypto and everything. But let's bring up our buddy Lebron again. I mean, he's going to go out there. He's going to play. I mean, he's got a contract. And, he's got sponsorships and all that. But then you've got that rookie. You got Deven Hurt, who is literally coming up, and he's that rookie, and he's going to play his heart out, right? So it's betting, but it's the same thing as betting on a company as to whether or not they're actually going to make money, right?
Right. I mean, that's kind of the way we look at it. I mean, you can kind of mince words back and forth about, is the stock market betting? No, it's investing. Is investing just betting where it's less risky, right? You can kind of do that circular logic all day with yourself and your friends, and you'll get exactly nowhere. But that's kind of the idea, right? What if you took this idea of, I believe in the future of something, whether that's a company or a person, athletic performance, as opposed to, I believe this event is going to happen tonight, which is, I think, what we associate with a bet, right? I think the Patriots are going to win tonight. That is my bet, as opposed to, I believe in well, I guess, would have been Tom Brady, but now Mac Jones as the future of the Patriots. That's how the thought is different, which is the same way people look at stocks. I believe in the future of Amazon, Google. It is that difference of like, what is, I guess, your time horizon? What is your outlook? And is it just you believe in some future performance and overperformance, or do you just believe in, like, I think this one specific thing can happen tonight?
So let's bring this a little bit more home for somebody like me, and let's talk about Dak Prescott. Okay, so last season, I was watching the game when he broke his ankle, and he's getting carted off the field, and he's got tears in his eyes, and you're saying, what's going to happen to the Cowboys? I mean, I'm a Dak Prescott fan. I'm a Cowboys fan, which, I've been since I was a little kid, and it's very painful to be a Cowboys fan.
I'm a Cowboys fan too. You don't have to tell me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, how hard is it to be a Cowboys fan, right? Whew. So you look at last season and you say Dak Prescott gets hurt, and what's going to happen to the Cowboys? And of course, they fall apart. And now you look at the season and Dak is just a machine out there, right? And having a great game. So with Prediction Strike, let's rewind to last year. What happened to give people an example, like to put it in their head, if they would have had that ability to look forward in the future and say, I know next year Dak Prescott's going to be a champ, right? I mean, he's going to be a machine. He's going to be a stud or whatever. So with Prediction Strike, what happened at the beginning of Dak's season, and then what happened when he got hurt, and where's he at now?
Yeah. As we talk, I'm going to look up the chart, but basically I do remember, of course, a lot of what happened. Remember the injury that was watching that live, unfortunately.
Yeah, you and I both. And by the way, for anybody that didn't see it, I mean, it was painful to watch, right, Deven? I mean, it was terrible to watch. And I know you're looking that up on the computer. I don't mind right now if I can switch to you. You can, no kidding, share your screen and we can kind of look at the chart. I don't want to put any pressure on you. We don't have to do that by any means, but I do want you to kind of walk through, at least Dak Prescott as an example. And when it comes to pro sports, I pretty much know the Cowboys and that's it, but maybe you have another one. But let's get through Dak Prescott.
For sure. So last year, basically, his stock price, it was climbing. So he was killing it at the beginning of the year. First 5 weeks of the season, he was looking like he was an MVP candidate, maybe some pass yard records. I mean, he was just absolutely destroying it. Share price was climbing all year long. And then, unfortunately, got hurt. Share price came down. People started selling. That really dropped the share price, unfortunately. And now this year, he's back. And it seems like he's playing better than ever. And so his share price is all the way back up. So he's back up just below where he was last year. And remember, the Cowboys have only played, I think, 5 games this season. So expect that share price to keep climbing. I mean, he's cooking. He's absolutely cooking. So as long as he keeps this up, we're going to see some huge gains. Right now, Dak is one of the higher share prices on our platform. He's $10.30 a share.
So when he started the season last year, do you have the chart in front of you that when he started the season last year, what his share price was, and then what his share price went down to after he got hurt?
Yeah. So when he started last year, he came in about 7, shot up to about 12 when he was just on that crazy run, and then came back down to 9.
Oh, so he only went down to $9 a share when he got hurt.
I mean, 25% though, that's still a good amount.
Well, okay, fair enough. I mean, that's a pretty big drop, but your platform actually reflected the fact that this wasn't necessarily career ending.
Exactly.
Jerry Jones didn't fire the guy, right? I mean, he was hurt. He couldn't throw the ball. He couldn't get out there and be the quarterback, right? Jerry Jones didn't fire him. He wasn't gone. Even Jerry knew, hey, we got to let this guy heal, and he's going to come back, and he's going to be a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And your platform literally reflected the fact that that's what happened.
Right. I think if it were like a 1-year thing, like, everybody, because your portfolio rolls over, right? So I think if it were a 1-year thing, then Dak's share price probably would have gone to like $1 or something, right? Nothing. Because he was out for the year. And so that would have been different. But exactly, Jerry Jones didn't fire him. Everyone knew he was coming back. He's a quarterback. It was a leg injury. It's nothing. You can come back for that. I mean, Peyton Manning came back from a neck injury, right? You can do that as a quarterback.
Yeah, no, totally makes sense. So, what happens when a player retires? And really retires, because I know we have players that retire and then come back, and maybe that's the next question. But seriously, you've got shares in a player and they retire. What happens?
Not anything inherently. You're right. Players do retire and come back, but when a player retires, only what the market decides, because now they're no longer going to have games, right, to affect their performance, affect their actual stock price. So now either users are going to start selling, or maybe some people might even just hold, because a lot of the times people are buying shares of just their favorite players. So they like seeing whoever that person is in their portfolio. Like someone like Tom Brady, I imagine a lot of people are going to keep those shares around. We don't know how much longer he's going to play. Dak, someone who's incredibly popular. I know he's got to be 10 years off from retirement at this point, but someone could just want to keep those shares around. Very, very possible.
Gotcha. So and maybe I phrased the question wrong. So their share price could remain steady even though they're not playing anymore.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. So in your system, and you're going to have to help me here a little bit. Did we have somebody? I think honestly, Gronkowski, I think, was one that was in the time frame of PredictionStrike where he was on the Patriots. He retired and then turned around and came back. Can you walk everybody through what happened as far as share prices go with somebody like Gronkowski, who was a big player, then retired and then came back?
Yep. So Gronk's share price, we had looked at this fairly recently. It took a slight dip when he retired, and that was just a lot of people selling. People were kind of saying, well, I'm not making money off Gronk, thanks for the memories, but people did sell. And then he comes back, wins the Super Bowl, catches a touchdown in the Super Bowl. He's been catching touchdowns this year too. So now his share price is just pretty consistently on the uptick. So it did kind of what you expect in terms of, if you think about what is the value to Gronk right now, right? He's playing games at some point, then he leaves, and it's like, all right, it's just sentimental. And then it's like, okay, well, now he's back and he's balling out. So that stock price is going to go up. So it follows. That's exactly what we wanted to do as well. Follow, how do fans actually perceive these athletes?
So obviously, and I shouldn't say obviously, but they're only, and you're currently, by the way, in NFL and NBA only. And
the UFC.
UFC's coming up. But currently, though, in NFL and NBA, it's only current players, right?
Current, and then players who have retired since we started. But yes.
Right. So I can't go buy shares of Michael Jordan.
Correct.
Exactly. In the NBA, or Danny White from the Cowboys, or Tony Romo. If you look at Tony Romo for the Cowboys, right, it's like, okay, he retired before PredictionStrike came out, but now he's popular. He's a CBS analyst and everything, which could kind of adjust that. But you could argue that if a player retires and then goes into an analyst position, or maybe a coach, maybe an offensive coordinator, whatever, and you own shares in them, that might add value, correct?
Oh, definitely. Especially someone like Tony Romo, who, when he became a commentator, made a big splash, and everyone's like, how is he such a good commentator, right? He was so popular for that instantly that you could definitely see that. And like you said, someone might become a great coach. Now, imagine you had, I don't know who was a good player that turned coach off the top of my head, but like, you have shares in someone their whole career. Imagine eventually we'll open up to college. So you had shares of them in college, pros. Maybe they won a ring. Now they're a assistant coach, a position coach, assistant coach, head coach. Maybe they win another ring. And you would stock them that whole way through. Now that would be a ride.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. So does your program take out a little bit of unpredictability in that performance, as far as honestly kind of buying into the talent and not necessarily the, any given Sunday?
Yep.
Portion?
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
walk us through how that works.
people will use both strategies. Some people do something that's closer to day trading, like you would see with stocks, and they're like, I think they're just going to knock it out of the park this week. Maybe this is a week of defense, or they have a good matchup, whatever. And other people were like, exactly. I'm buying into the talent. I want to buy into Pat Mahomes right now because it's, I mean, maybe not right now this year because a little shaky, but like 2-3 years ago, if you're like, I'm buying Pat Mahomes stock, you would have kept that for the rest of your life. And so people definitely employ all kinds of strategies, or like a different player gets traded to the team. Maybe that affects how many minutes they play or who they're getting matched up against. And people will react to all of that.
Yeah, that makes total sense. So signing up for PredictionStrike, and I'm going to throw a curveball at you here in a second. So get ready. Even though you're not in baseball yet, I'm using a baseball reference. I'm going to put you on the spot here in a second. But so signing up for PredictionStrike, how does somebody do that?
Easiest way is to go to the App Store, download the app. It's just PredictionStrike. Or go to the web, PredictionStrike.com. And then you just sign up. Super easy. Don't need a credit card to sign up. You sign up, take a look around, and then add money whenever you're ready.
Is there a kind of a free version that people can kind of play with, maybe the free money, fake money, to see how they would do? Or is this just kind of looking around the app and seeing how it works?
We don't have one of those yet. Right now, it is just looking around the app and seeing how it works, seeing what those share price changes look like and stuff like that.
Gotcha. But they can do it from their computer. They don't necessarily have to do it from their phone. Obviously, most people do everything from their phones nowadays, right?
Yep.
But you do have a website where they can have two monitors set up, and it's like, okay, I'm looking at this player over here, and I've got PredictionStrike on this monitor, and now I'm sitting here, and like you alluded to, day trading, watching ESPN and looking at sports news and everything, and seriously day trading all that, right?
Yep, exactly. That's exactly how you can do it.
Nice. Okay, so only U.S. based, or is this available in other countries?
For now, just U.S. based, and that's just a regulatory thing. Once you start spending money on things on the internet, you always have to check with local regulations. So still working through what we might be able to do in other countries, but for now, just U.S.
Gotcha. So looking at things like DraftKings, I remember when DraftKings came out, it was limited to certain states because it was still considered gambling. Have you went through anything like that? Any kind of problems with that?
Not really. Of course, it's just speaking with lawyers to make sure we're doing the right thing. But we're neither gambling nor daily fantasy sports, which is what DraftKings is. We're just an e-commerce site, which is nice.
Gotcha. Oh, that makes it much easier. So now here comes the curveball.
Okay.
So our listeners want to jump into this. Can we get some kind of promo code that, somebody wants to sign up for, PredictionStrike, and maybe our listeners can get some kind of, promo code, kind of like DraftKings. You hear all those things where it's like, oh, sign up and put in Wolf Shepherd podcast and get a freebie.
You know what? I will do it right now on the air. What would you like the promo code to be?
Let's just go Wolf Shepherd.
Wolf Shepherd.
Yeah. So what happens now when one of our customers sign up and they enter the promo code Wolf Shepherd? And by the way, as you're sitting there literally typing, I saw your screen light up. I mean, you're literally setting this up right now. So I just want to make sure that, because we've actually ran into this, Shepherd is spelled SHEPHERD, so of course the banner's in the background, but a lot of people misspell the word shepherd. So Wolf Shepherd. So they're going to go in, they're going to create an account on PredictionStrike, and they're going to enter the promo code Wolf Shepherd. Now what happens?
Now, with their first deposit of 20 or more, they get a free player stock up to about $50.
Nice. I like that. So can I get free shares of Dak Prescott?
You, of course.
As long as the Wolf gets absolutely nothing from this.
He didn't even show up today. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's out there on his honeymoon and everything, so he's having his own good time. So I need to get something out of this, right?
Hey, we can make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of closing this out, you've talked about, how to download the app or whatever. If somebody wanted to reach out and ask some more questions that I wasn't able to fill in, what's the best way to get a hold of you? Social media, things like that. How can they reach you?
So for me personally, the best social media is Twitter. I'm on Twitter at King Dev Hurt. I have an Instagram. I am terrible at Instagram. I think it's just Deven Hurt. You can look for me there.
Not to interrupt you, but you're not terrible on Instagram. I am the definition of terrible on Instagram. Our Instagram is terrible because I continuously forget to put stuff on there. I mean, let's talk about what a pain in the ass social media is, right? I mean, I'm looking at you right now, and of course the camera's on me, but you're sitting there, you're doing this. I feel you, man. I feel you, brother. It sucks so bad.
It's so much work. Like, at least Twitter, I can just kind of let my thoughts fly. It's super easy. It's kind of like sending a text, kind of let it go. Instagram, I feel like, okay, now I have to figure out which picture I want to post. Like, do I edit it? Do I filter it? Do I crop it? It's just like, okay, now I've spent 10 minutes and I don't know if I care anymore.
Yeah. Or here's the worst part for me. So I'm colorblind and I see these photoshopped, and I don't know if that's even an old word or not or whatever, but photoshopped pictures of women. And as bad as my colorblindness is, I'm saying you are so terrible at Photoshop. That is literally not what you look like. It looks like cartoon characters and all that, which is why I've shied away from there. But, once again, here we go on some tangent that, we're used to doing, and I interrupted you. I'm sorry. So you got your Twitter, you got Instagram, which you and I are going to enter a competition. Maybe you need a stock on PredictionStrike of who is the worst Instagrammer.
We might need that.
Like a special stock that we can kind of just bet against each other of who is worse at Instagram. I'm gonna give you a spoiler. I win. I'm worse than you.
You're probably right. But make sure to follow also the PredictionStrike accounts. We're active on those. PredictionStrike. Oh, Twitter's at PredictionStrike. Blank Twitter for character limits, and Instagram is at PredictionStrike. DM us, message us, whatever you want there. If you have another outstanding question, email us at hello@predictionstrike.com.
Sweet. So, and I know I told you before we hit record, I was going to give you this, but I didn't let you talk about the UFC part. So can you give everybody kind of a little fill in of the UFC part of that and maybe what else is coming up?
Yes. So we're launching UFC for the November 6th card at UFC 268 in New York. So we're real excited about that. We're going to IPO fighters sometime next week. So you'll be able to buy your shares next week. Really happy. Just can't wait. So that's the big thing. UFC is coming in November. And then soon we'll be adding baseball for their next season. Once spring training starts, we're there. We'll be adding soccer next year as well, because next year's a World Cup year. Have to have soccer. So those are some of the big changes that are coming down the pipe.
Gotcha. Fantastic. Well, hey, Deven, certainly appreciate you joining me today. Honestly, I've been fascinated with this idea since it was pitched to me to talk to you. I mean, I've looked at the website, I've downloaded the app. I was waiting for my promo code, so I can get a free player, whatever. So now the promo code is set up. I'm looking forward to, being active on the app. I mean, it's really, really cool and definitely a different way to look at fantasy sports. So appreciate that. And with all that said, thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Wolf and the Shepherd. and we will catch you on the next one.